Well, Israel has declared war on Hamas and vowed to destroy its ability to govern Gaza. The militant Palestinian Islamist group is considered a terrorist organization by the European Union and the United States. Here's more now on what Hamas represents.
The Gaza Strip, where the Israeli Defense Forces have been striking targets belonging to the militant Islamist Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad groups. It's from this densely populated enclave lying between Israel, Egypt and the Mediterranean Sea that Hamas has, for years, launched rockets into Israel. The group has governed the over 2 million residents in Gaza since 2007. Since then, Gaza has been seen as enemy territory by Israel and has remained largely sealed off. Israel controls access by land, sea and air. The militant Islamist group rejects any peace process with Israel and calls for its destruction. Hamas is designated a terrorist group by Israel, the United States, the EU and the United Kingdom, among other countries. Hamas is part of a regional alliance that includes Iran, Syria and the Islamist organization Hezbollah in Lebanon, which opposes US policies towards the Middle East and Israel. The EU and other countries have deemed Hezbollah a terrorist organization. Hamas has carried out attacks on Israel, which have led to 4 major military conflicts with the Israeli army in 2008, 2009, 2012, 2014 and 2021. Hamas has warned that this latest wave of attacks are just the beginning and called on other groups to join the fight.
Hamas depends on foreign aid of all kinds. A lot of that aid comes from Iran. But Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, he says that Tehran had no role in the Hamas terrorist attacks on Saturday. At the same time, he praised the operation as an irreparable military and intelligence defeat. Iran and Hamas share the declared aim of destroying the state of Israel. My next guest now is Danny Citrinovitz. He is with the Institute for National Security Studies in Tel Aviv. He previously headed up Iranian research for Israel's military intelligence. It's good to have you with us this evening. Iran has denied being involved in these attacks whatsoever. Is that even plausible?
Well, we need to understand the relations between Hamas and Iran. Iran is sending money to Iran, of course, sending arms to Iran, training its operatives. But at the end of the day, Hamas is a Palestinian terrorist movement in a way that it's solely independent, especially in the Gaza Strip. So there is, of course, the support of Iran to Hamas activity. But tactically speaking, what we saw today, what we saw in the last couple of days, is an attack carried out by Hamas, operated by Hamas, and Hamas doesn't need the approval of Iran to launch this attack. So in that regard, it is possible. Of course, there is some sort of coordination in the background all the time. But at the end of the day, it's not that Iran needs to approve any attack carried out by Hamas. It supported the movement, it supported activities, but tactically, operationally, on the ground, Hamas is independent to do what it wants, what it's able to do. So actually what we saw today is there is a strategic support by Iran, but I'm doubtful that Hamas needed the approval of Iran to carry out this attack.
So to what extent then would you say that Hamas is a tool for Iran, such as other groups like Hezbollah in Lebanon?
Well, there is a difference between Hezbollah and Hamas in so many ways. Hezbollah is a Shiite movement. It's actually the spearhead of Iran's activity in the Middle East. And Hamas is a Palestinian movement, a Sunni movement that actually is supported by Iran, not because of the ideological reasons. Yes, of course, there is, of course, both movement and country want to destroy the state of Israel, but one is Sunni, one is Shiite. So it's more less ideological, more interest-wise in so many ways. So it's not that Hamas is similar to Hezbollah in that effect. But we have to understand what Iran is trying to do is actually build a circle of fire around the state of Israel. It wants to deter Israel from attack Iran. So it uses Hezbollah, it uses other movement or organization like the Shiite movements in Iraq, like the Houthis in Yemen, and like Hamas in the Gaza Strip and West Bank, in order to constantly suppress Israel in so many ways. So in that way, it's similar to Hezbollah, but Hezbollah and Iran have strategic, coordinated relations that it's less than what we see today between Iran and Hamas. Again, Iran is backing Hamas in so many ways, but from tactical reason, operational reason, Hamas is really independent in its own ways.
And I was reading today, so Iran has this goal of annihilating Israel by what one person has described as 1,000 cuts. And that goes along with what you're saying, building this circle around Israel. So is Hamas for Iran one of those 1,000 cuts that would contribute to the destruction of Israel?
Definitely. Iran and Hamas looking the long-term solution. It's not that they're thinking that they can destroy Israel tomorrow, but they believe these horrendous attacks that occurred in Israel are one way forward in its vision to destroy the state of Israel. So that's why we saw, even if Iran didn't know about the attack, tactically, it will support it because it's really it's part of its grand strategy at the end of the day to make Israel disappear from the map, and the Iranian Supreme Leader will support it. Now, it's important to say one important thing. Despite the fact that we can only assume from what the American administration is saying and what the Hamas saying on the ground, that there is no coordination between Hamas and Iran before the attack itself. I'm not saying Iran won't support Hamas actively in days to come. We're still in the beginning stages of the campaign of Israel against Hamas. And if Hamas will find itself in a dire situation, we cannot rule out that Iran will actively support Hamas, not only by trying to send arms or other elements, but also maybe threatening Israel to stop its activity in Gaza Strip. So the fact that we didn't see this kind of tactical cooperation doesn't say we won't see that in days to come.
Yeah, and the timing of these attacks that we saw on Saturday, they look like, or you could, see them as being a means in disturbing what has been this building of improved relations between Israel and other Arab countries. I'm talking particularly between Israel and Saudi Arabia. It would definitely be in Iran's interest for Hamas to attack and create what it has created, this uproar, and destroy any goodwill that may have been coming from Saudi Arabia towards Israel.
Most definitely. I think that Iran is really, really annoyed from the normalization between Israel and the Gulf states, and especially this prospect of normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. This is something that put real jeopardy towards Iran. Iran see this kind of coordination between Israel and Saudi Arabia as something that really jeopardizing its core interest in the region and beyond. So in that regard, it's not that Hamas initiated that because of Iran ambitions or trying to push some obstacle in the relations between Israel and Saudi Arabia, but for sure Iran understands that it held that in that regard. So it will support it. I think that even more than that, what Hamas is trying to do right now, despite the fact that probably it started, like we mentioned, the campaign alone, they want to gather Iran right now into the campaign. We saw what Mohammed Def, the head of Hamas, actually in Gaza Strip, trying to do in the beginning stages of the campaign, trying to call for other fronts to be open. And I think that the normalization is something that Iran can relate to. But we have to understand one important thing, that Iran is very hesitant to open new fronts. It's hesitant to get into development that it cannot foresee how it will develop into the future. Yeah. So it's not that Iran will jump into the events only because of normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. I'm sure they understand that it helped them in that regard, but I think they would think twice whether to support Hamas actively. Again, I'm not saying they're not going to do that, but not only because of normalization, they will try to help Hamas.
Okay. Danny Citrinowicz with the Institute for National Security Studies in Tel Aviv. Mr. Citrinowicz, we certainly appreciate your time. Excellent analysis, too, on the nuances of the Iranian connection to all of this. Thank you.
Thank you very much.